Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Star Wars Jedi Survivor figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Purge Trooper Commander. Not Cal Kestis, not Seer, not Triller from Fallen Order. No, the Purge Trooper Commander. I'm still excited for this, but please Hot Toys, give us some main characters for crying out loud. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Jedi Survivor figure review goes live on the channel. Hopefully it's Cal. One day. Complaining aside, do you want to know why I think we don't have Cal yet? He's expensive. He represents a significant investment for the company. A new head sculpt, likeness rights, all new accessory molds, probably a new body, a bunch of tailoring, maybe even a custom display base. Whereas Purge Trooper and the Scout Trooper that we receive from them from this line, super inexpensive. They can reuse the body, most of the armor pieces. All they really need to invest in on these is new weapons and, for the Purge Trooper, a new helmet mold. Low risk, but potentially high reward for them. Still, they really do need to give us at least Cal from the game. Anyway, enough moaning. Let's check out the box art. Up front, we've got an image of the actual figure with his visor illuminated. A Hot Toys exclusive sticker. That's why this released so quickly. It's an exclusive. And the wraparound banner, done in high gloss with red as the accent color, featuring another shot of the figure himself. In the background of the wraparound banner, is that a star chart or something? Or maybe it's one of the patterns from the meditation points in the game. It's been a while since I played it. On the side of the box, some more figure photography. Around the back, their store locations, warnings and legal information, including this little gem right here, letting us know that the sick-looking Purge Trooper airborne style helmet with the LED light-up visor is unfortunately button cell battery powered. Dude, this image looks so much cooler than what was printed on the front of the box. If only that stupid Lucasfilm mandate didn't exist that says that every high-end Star Wars product has to have the same style of box artwork. We've got the Purge Trooper with his visor illuminated and some burning embers down below. Nothing crazy, but it looks awesome. First in-hand impressions for the actual Purge Trooper, not the thing we got from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So far, so good. He's a lot more weathered than I was expecting. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with his display base first. It's a reused mold, but it looks so much better than usual. This fine scratching and the heavy silver chipping on the edges of the tiles. Why have we not been getting this quality of base paint applications for years at this point? They've well and truly recovered the mold costs for this base. I want to see more of it with future clone figures. Give us heavily weathered bases. Around the front, Purge Trooper Commander. Then up top, why do we have an adjustable waist clamp? His waist is not skiddy and narrow like this. Even if you bring it all the way up, it's going to be putting a lot of pressure on his armor if you have this around his waist. I would suggest switching this top part out with a crotch grabber if you have a spare one lying around. This is a new mold, yeah? I don't think it's reuse. It looks smaller, more compact than usual. It's painted in the same way as normal though. We've got gunmetal first, then a black wash, and after that some silver dry brushing just to highlight all of the detail. This is new. We've got a sight on one side with a wire connecting the sight to the main body of the gun, and there's some modularity. We've got a magnet up top and a magnetic scope. I believe that's what this is, but there's a spike at the front, not very useful as a scope. It's a Star Warsy scope. We can suspend our disbelief on that. Removing this front barrel plug, it is keyed so it only goes in one way. We can install this muzzle slash flash compensator thing. I'm going to display his rifle like this. The more stuff you install on it, the cooler it starts to look for me. It comes across specialized once you start to plug all the little attachments onto it. Lastly, we get a full array of hands with weathered armor plates on the back of them. These are his trigger finger hands, we get one for either side. The fingers are pretty stiff, so maybe heat them up first, before you try and pop the rifle grip into them. They're being stingy again. We get one closed fist, and one splayed out finger open palm hand. Already installed on him, right out of the box, 2 relaxed open palm hands. What we're going to do now is get the Purge Trooper Commander himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Now that right there is a real Purge Trooper. Not the one that we got from the Kenobi line. That thing, we'll discuss it in the comparison segment, but seriously, this is a huge upgrade over that piece. Proportions-wise, he fills out the armor exactly as you'd expect him to, because this is mostly reuse. The armor is beautifully well painted, and he's got that Airborne Trooper helmet with the LED light-up visor. It looks like it's not on. I promise you, it is. The button cell batteries are just that terrible. But I've really got very few complaints with this thing. It's exactly what I was hoping for from a 1/6 scale Purge Trooper. The only question is, why did it take them so long to give us this? Up close and personal, kicking things off with the Purge Trooper's helmet. It's an Airborne Trooper-inspired helmet mold with a couple of bespoke modifications for the Purge Trooper. The first of which is the red visor. And it's got an LED light-up effect, but you saw that on the turntable just before anyway. I'll show you how it works in a second. There's weathering absolutely everywhere, and I've always loved the Airborne Trooper helmet mold. Now that we've got it in 1/6 scale, surely they're going to give us a 2/12 Utapau Airborne Trooper. We need one. You've shown it off at various conventions, Hot Toys. Now is the time. Make that frickin' clone trooper. But it's the pops of red for the mandibles that get me the most. The color match between the pauldron and the mandibles is close. It's not perfect. The mandibles are a little bit brighter. Seeing as though this is fabric and this is sculpted plastic, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with, though, is the way they did the visor. It's translucent plastic. But why is it so dark? It's meant to look illuminated. Even with the LEDs turned off, if they'd have gone with a brighter plastic, it still would have looked like the LEDs were turned on. Because they went so dark, if you do decide that you're not going to make use of the light-up effect, then his visor looks very lackluster. With the LEDs turned on, however, this is awesome. I just wish it was USB-C powered, something other than button cell batteries. Can you see that? It's getting dimmer as I'm talking. Right here in front of you, the button cell batteries are dying. They decided to go with an orange LED. That's a bold choice. When the batteries are fresh and it's really bright, then the effect that they were trying to go for comes through. When something's red and illuminated, then it looks slightly orangey at its brightest point. As the batteries die, the effect gets less and less convincing. In the game, the Purge Troopers often had their DC-15 blaster rifles on their back like this, so that you could see the top of it sticking out over their pauldrons. In 1/6 scale, you can store this on his back. There's a magnet inside of it. But it sits all the way down here. So from the front, you can just see a little bit of the stock peeking out over the pauldron. The rest of the rifle is hanging out down below. And because it's a relatively long weapon, it just gets out of alignment constantly and then it sits vertically. I might use some blue tack to hold this in place because I really want this on his back in the correct position. Hot Toys, thank you. I'm pleased to report this pauldron, this strap, the other strap under his armpit for the left side with the cartridges on top of it, none of that is pleather. It looks pleathery. There's a leather grain texture on the surface. It's slightly waxy and shiny. No. This is some other kind of synthetic material. And the pauldron is made of nylon. This is our first taste of what nylon is going to look like as a substitute for pleather. It's perfect. The wrinkling, the really fine grain and grit that it has on the surface, they should have been always using nylon. But to take it a step further, they've wired the pauldron. I don't believe they've ever done that before. It makes a huge difference because you can shape it pretty much however you like. If you want it to sit wide and flat, doable. If you want to pinch it in around the front so it's more pointy, also an option. I'm partial to the wider look myself, so I'm always going to leave it like this. It's an asymmetrical design for the armor. We've got those canisters on the right bicep, not the left. The comms panel on the right forearm with the little red button. It's a nice pop of color. Then we've got different weathering from one side to the other for the chevrons, and we've got the Imperial cog on his left shoulder pad. The base color is this bluish, really dark charcoal grey. Then we've got some lighter grey weathering on the edges, some silver chipping, and in certain spots, some dirt and grime. But that's not everywhere, just on the high traffic areas like his hands, his gauntlets, and down below for his boots. His belt is rubbery plastic, it is adjustable, maybe a bit too adjustable. They need to tighten up the tolerances. Maybe we're seeing the first signs of mold degradation. As they use a mold more and more, the tolerances get weaker and weaker, and slowly but surely the parts don't work as intended, and perhaps that's what's occurring with this belt. Too loosey-goosey for me, but once you push it down and you dial in the pose, leave it alone, it won't go anywhere. The clips from this buckle to the straps on his kama, real die-cast metal, and the kama is heavily weathered, including some tatters at the bottom. They've always struggled to weather fabric, because if you think about it, it's not easy to paint material, depending on the angle of the piece of fabric and how porous it is and how much paint you spray on. It's a nightmare for consistency at the factory level on a production line. There's no telling if every single piece of fabric is going to look identical. They've figured it out, it seems. Maybe this is some kind of dry paint application process, and that's what's giving it this chalky, very realistic look. Going forward, I want to see more weathered fabric like kamas and pauldrons and whatnot on clone troopers, because if you can do it for the Purge trooper, you can do it for everything else. If the character calls for it, of course. I don't want random weathering on fabric parts for characters and clone troopers that are meant to be clean. For his bodysuit, it's that ribbed fabric material. It's nice and stretchy. Going to be great for posing. Then the rest of his armor, all the way down to his boots, the regular clone trooper fare. Painted in that dark, slightly shiny greyish gunmetal with weathering all over it. And we've got the chevrons on the right thigh armor, but not the left. But this might just be one of my favorite details on him. He's got the red bottoms. This is a bougie Purge trooper. I don't remember if he had red soles on his boots in the game. It's been a while. I need to go back and replay it. For a quick side-by-side comparison, alongside his wave mate, essentially, another release from Jedi Survivor, the Purge trooper is small. The clone body might be a touch underscaled now that I'm seeing him next to the Scout Trooper. You could argue that the soles on the Scout Trooper's boots are chunkier, and yes, you would be right, they are. I still would prefer a little bit more height for the Purge Trooper. In the right pose, maybe kneeling down holding his rifle, it's not going to make a huge difference. See what I mean? Even next to the live action version of the Purge Trooper, the video game one is shorter. Not a deal breaker for me, just something to be aware of. If I had to pick between these two Purge Troopers, I'm going with the one on the left. It's a vastly superior looking figure, and it's going to be more durable. We've got a pleather pauldron for the live action one, and a pleather karma. No pleather for the video game release. He's shorter, but that doesn't matter. He looks more proportionate. Some people went so far as to say the Kenobi Purge Trooper was the worst figure they'd ever purchased. That's how universally hated he is. I don't think he's that bad, but if I was going to do a ranking for all of the Trooper figures in my collection, he definitely wouldn't be near the top. Going over articulation, starting off with his bucket. There's a ball joint at the base of his neck and a ball joint inside the helmet. Combined, looking forward to there, looking up to there, that's way more range than I was expecting in both directions. Then we've got swivel and pivot side to side. The left arm will move more freely than the right thanks to the pauldron. I like to tuck the shoulder pad underneath the chest armor strap so his arms will go up to there, forward and back unhindered by the full fabric outfit underneath the armor. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow on soft ratchets, it will go past 90. Watch out for the strap on the elbow guard. You can either sit it over the top of the bicep armor or tuck it underneath. I prefer to go underneath, it looks a little bit less unsightly. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ratcheted hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward to there, joint at the midsection and another at the waist, going back to there, but it gets a little gappy. Swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward on clicky ratchets to there, but you can rotate the thigh armor, then they'll go way further forward. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Ratcheted double bend at the knee, going past 90. Keep an eye out for the strap for the knee pad. It can get marred up if it comes into contact with either of these armor pieces. For the ankles, a double ball peg. Going forward and back, we get rotation as well as some ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is everything to do with this button cell battery powered visor light up module. The helmet doesn't securely connect to it. The button cell batteries were a stupid choice, quite frankly, and they went with an orange LED. When the batteries are fresh and it's really bright, then it sort of makes sense, because if something's red and it's being lit up, it looks slightly orange where the light source is coming from. But as the batteries die, which they inevitably will because they're button cells, it starts to look worse and worse. Why didn't they just go with a white LED? The visor is already red tinted translucent plastic. It would have done all of the heavy lifting. They didn't need to go with a colored LED. The second annoying thing, I dig the customizability of this rifle. The sight, though, should have been more secure up on top. They tried their best. There's a notch and groove system. It doesn't work. This thing, if you so much as look at it the wrong way, is going to move to the side and then it'll be out of alignment. The third annoying thing is another magnet issue. This is neat, the way you can store his rifle on his back like in the game, but why is the magnet here, near the stock? It should be way further down. The rifle is supposed to sit up and over his shoulder like this, not all the way down here, and because it's so long and front heavy, it tends to droop down and then it sits vertically rather than diagonally. The first cool thing is this pauldron is not made of pleather. It's nylon. It looks like a leathery style material the way it's wrinkled and buckled, but it's durable. This is going to stand the test of time, and they've wired the darn thing. Not necessary, but being able to shape it to sell a pose, I'm so here for it. The second cool thing is weathering. This has to be some of the most impressive weathering I've ever seen from them. And it's not just on the armor, we also have weathering on the pauldron and the karma. They finally figured out how to weather fabric at the factory and do it consistently. Oh, and they didn't just stop at the Purge Trooper. The third cool thing is the base is weathered. Where has this been all my life? Why do we not have more Star Wars bases that look exactly like this? The scratching, the silver chipping around the edges of the tiles. We've seen subtle weathering, but nothing quite like this before. Wrapping up on the Jedi Survivor Purge Trooper. Right now, having two troopers from a game that we don't have the protagonist from, so weird. It's a head scratcher. What the hell's going on over in Hong Kong? Hot Toys, please pull your frickin' finger out. Give us Cal Kestis. At least Cal Kestis. You could even make a Darth Vader from Jedi Fallen Order if you wanted. At the end of this, is the Purge Trooper worth picking up? I think he is. He's an exclusive, so he might be a little bit more pricey, but if you're willing to spend the coin, I doubt you're going to be disappointed. This is now one of my all-time favorite 1/6 scale clone troopers. And yes, I am calling him a clone trooper because they do reuse a lot of clone trooper armor pieces for this. The only complaint I have is button cell batteries. Come on. Get with it. They need to use USB or something else, some other kind of way of powering LED light-up functions in helmets. The button cells, they died on camera within maybe 30 or 40 seconds. It's a terrible experience because you see how cool the visor looks with the LEDs turned on. And then as they die in front of you, you're reminded that Hot Toys are cheap, their button cell batteries are terrible, and they don't really care about you as a collector. If that's not the case, do something about it, Hot Toys. Prove me wrong. I love this, but the one drawback is the light up function. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.